That's how Daniel starts his story, his voice trembling just a little at the end, like he's still processing it all. Maybe you've passed someone like her before. Maybe you didn't stop. Maybe you did. But for Daniel, that rainy night changed his life, and hers. Daniel Hart was a 35-year-old single dad living in the edge of downtown Pittsburgh. His days were long, a mix of construction work and chasing his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, around their modest 2-bedroom apartment. Life was hard, but it was honest. He didn't have much, but what he had was solid. His daughter. His little world. And his heart, still healing from a bitter divorce 2 years earlier that left him both broken and deeply protective of his girl. It was a Tuesday night, in November. Cold rain lashed the sidewalks, and Daniel was just coming back from a late shift. He had picked up Lily from a neighbor's place and was walking her home when he saw her. She was standing under a flickering streetlight, soaked to the bone, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her makeup had smudged from the rain, or maybe from tears, he couldn't tell. Her lips were blue. And the look in her eyes. Hollow. Not empty like someone who had nothing, but hollow like someone who had given up. Lily tugged his arm and whispered, "Daddy, she looks sad." Daniel stopped. People usually walked right past girls like her. No eye contact. No conversation. The stories we tell ourselves, she chose this life. It's not my business. I've got my own problems. But Daniel had once felt that kind of loneliness too. He took off his work jacket, warm, a bit worn, with oil stains on the sleeves, and walked over. She flinched when he approached. "I'm not looking for anything," he said, holding out the jacket. "But you're soaked. You don't have to be cold too." She hesitated. Then took it slowly, like she wasn't sure it was real. "I'm Daniel. That's my daughter, Lily." She clutched the jacket around herself, eyes wide, silent. Then barely audible, "Callie." That night, Daniel offered her his couch. It wasn't much. Just a second-hand pull-out in a small apartment. But it was dry. It was warm. And it came with the kind of silence that didn't judge. Callie sat on the edge of the couch, holding a chipped mug of tea, eyes glued to the floor. Daniel put Lily to bed and returned, sitting in the armchair across from her. "I don't need to know," he said gently. "Not unless you want to tell me." She did. Eventually. Callie had been 20 when she ran away from an abusive foster home. She landed in a shelter, then a series of cheap jobs, and finally, nowhere. A bad boyfriend, an unpaid debt, and one wrong decision led her to that rainy street corner. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. She didn't want to sell herself. But when it's cold and hopeless, your options don't always look like choices. Weeks passed. Callie stayed on the couch. Daniel didn't press her. He made her breakfast. Left extra tea in the mornings. Bought her a toothbrush without asking. Lily took to her quickly, like kids often do with people who carry sadness the way Callie did. Gentle, quiet, but full of a love they hadn't been shown enough. At first, Callie was ashamed. She offered to leave a dozen times. "You've done enough," she said once, tears on her cheeks. "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," Daniel said simply. "You're just not done yet." Callie found a job at a diner down the street, nothing fancy, but honest work. She saved every dollar. Helped with dishes. Read bedtime stories to Lily when Daniel came home late. And slowly, something began to shift. She started smiling. Daniel noticed. So did Lily. One morning, after about 2 months, Daniel walked into the kitchen and saw Callie making pancakes. The cheap kind, from a box. But the place smelled like warmth, like family. And she laughed when Lily poured too much syrup and got it in her hair. That laugh did something to Daniel. It reminded him of things he thought he'd forgotten: hope, joy, the sound of someone feeling safe. But the world doesn't stop testing people just because they're trying. One night, Daniel came home to find Callie gone. Her bag was missing. The couch was empty. A note sat on the coffee table. "Daniel, I can't take from you anymore. You and Lily gave me more than I deserve. I need to figure things out on my own. Thank you for everything. Please tell Lily I love her pancakes. He stood there, silent, the note shaking in his hands. Lily cried herself to sleep that night. 2 weeks later, it was raining again. Daniel was at the same corner where he first saw her. He didn't expect to see her again, but he looked anyway. Every night. Just in case. And then, he did. But this time, she wasn't standing alone. She was helping a young woman, someone clearly lost, like she had been. She offered her a jacket. Daniel walked toward her slowly, his heart in his throat. Callie turned, saw him, and smiled. I needed to find myself, she said. Turns out. I left that version of me on your couch. They didn't fall in love right away. That would have been too easy. But she came back. This time, not as someone broken, but as someone rebuilding. A few months later, Callie moved into the second bedroom. Lily started calling her Calories. Daniel learned that love isn't always loud, it's often patient, messy, and quiet. Sometimes it looks like a shared cup of coffee. Sometimes it's just knowing someone's not going to leave when it rains. Daniel still works construction. He married Callie in a small backyard ceremony. Lily was the flower girl and wrote her own speech. The rain came down lightly that day. But no one cared. They danced anyway. Don't underestimate the power of kindness. A jacket. A couch. A second chance. Not everyone will accept your help, but someone will. And that single moment of humanity might not just change their life. It might change yours, too.